All right, welcome. Just like to share some Tinkercad basics. Start here, and then reference this video, all of my future videos. So if you don't have a Tinkercad account, you can access online. Go ahead and open your web browser and come up to the top and type tinkercad.com. You can sign up. Okay, and then you're going to go through all these steps, make your account. All right, for my privacy, I made my account off screen, but you go ahead and sign in. And then if you want to give it a try, we're going to click create your first design. Now, one of the things that I think is really cool is it saves your work automatically, and it gives it a random name up here. You have to be like me and you start making lots of things. You're going to want, you're going to want it to be a name you can remember so you can go search for it later. All right, Tinkercad. This little box up here that I'm touching in the upper left shows you the orientation you are to the build plate. You can also toggle with your mouse by pushing your right mouse button. It will also rotate. And if you need to move the plane from left to right, you can push Shift and use your right mouse button. We'll move back and forth. You can use the little wheel to zoom in and out. And then you'll use your left mouse button to click and select. Over here, we have our basic shapes. In Tinkercad, what you do to build and design is basically use the available shapes and combine them to make other shapes. These shapes are holes, but you can use any of the shapes and turn them into a hole. So let's start with a basic cube. We're going to place it on our work plane. And if you look right here, you can see it's solid, or you can make it a hole. And you use holes to make holes in other objects. Over here is your ruler, which I find very handy. And we're just going to tap it and then put it down here on our work plane. And notice you can now see the measurements of the object that we've been working with. We have our depth and our width and our height. And then this measurement tells you how far it is off the work plane. So if I wanted to raise it up in the air, say 10 millimeters, now floating 10 millimeters off the ground. Down here in the corner over here, you can use the settings. If you are more comfortable working in inches, you can change to inches. You'll notice that now our cube is giving us measurements in inches. You would think because I'm here in the US that inches would be more comfortable for me, but all of these decimals start to make my head spin. And because I work in miniatures, I've gotten really familiar with millimeters. So that's my preferred method of measurement. What else can I show you? All right. Guy here, you can date him. I will put an exact copy in the exact same spot. You can align shapes. I'm clicking and dragging, and so I'm getting that box to select both things at the same time. This feature up here will align them. Now they're perfectly aligned right here. Perhaps I want them touching 20 millimeter box, and I would like them to be exactly side by side. So if you come down here to the snap grid, you can decide how many millimeters the object will move at a time using the arrow keys on your keyboard. So I'm going to click 5, and then when I use my right arrow key, I'm going to move 5. Hold on. It's going to move 5 millimeters at a time. 5, 10, 15, 20. And then you can see they are now precisely beside one another. So if I am left clicking and dragging the box over, they're selected again. And up here, I can use the group option. And what actually happens now, I have one rectangle that is now twice the width. Now, of course, I could resize that other square. Sometimes this is helpful if I'm trying to, say, center a hole here and here. Group. I wanted to make a hole. Let's drag a box over here. And let's make this size of the other one. And I'm going to select both of these, and I'm going to use the align feature again. I'm going to align them in the middle, and then the other middles. Like this. And when they're grayed out, you can tell they're centered. Now, my hole is completely in the middle here. Let's bring it back out to the front and pretend we're making. Okay, there's the hole. I'm going to select them both again, and I'm going to group them. And notice it now put a cavity inside this other box. And what I can do, I'm going to click delete. I'm going to duplicate this guy. I'm going to move him 5, 10, 15, 20. And then I'm going to group them all. I have these perfectly centered, and I didn't have to try to figure it out in a 40mm box. So those are just some simple things that you can do with Tinkercad. Now, if let's say I wanted to print this for whatever reason, I'm going to go up here to export. And I'm going to export as an STL. I believe the object file, when you export that, will give you all of the pieces that we just made. So someone else would be able to open the file and see that it's 2 cubes with 2 holes in it. For the printer, we don't need to disassemble it. So I'm going to export it as an STL. When I click this, it's going to go to my download file folder on my computer. And then you can go to your download folder and you can open the STL in your slicer and set up a G code to print. So what I recommend is just playing for a while with the objects that are available in Tinkercad and just be comfortable with it. There's a cylinder. You'll notice with the cylinder, you can increase the number of sides and see that it gets much smoother. But maybe you like that textured look. As you can do with that. There are cones that you can adjust. To make different shapes. Maybe you want to make a lampshade. There's a pyramid. And how many sides it has. You can do that with this too, actually. You could bring the sides way down. Get a pyramid that you can change the shape of. And so basically what I've done for about the last year is just come up with things I want to make and then try to figure out which shapes make them. And I guarantee you there are just a whole wealth of videos here on YouTube about Tinkercad. So sit down, watch some things, start playing. This is where to start. Thanks for joining me.